Welcome to my first real discussion video. I've been wanting to make something like this for a while, so I figured why not start with my favorite series in the Transformers franchise, Beast Wars. Beast Wars holds a special place in my heart as the first Transformers franchise I really watched as a kid. Sure, I'm old enough to have been around for Generation 1 and Generation 2. Heck, I even own some of the toys from those lines, like this one, and this one. But Beast Wars came when I was really old enough to understand what was going on. My very first exposure to the series was going to a KB Toys. You know, that thing that no longer exists. There on an end cap was a 2-pack of figures. One was a bat, the other was an alligator. They turned into robots just like the Transformers toys I love so much, but the package on these toys said Beast Wars. So my 8-year-old self came to the only possible conclusion. These toys were a filthy Transformers knockoff. I still bought them though. After some time, I did finally figure out that these were, in fact, authentic Transformers, and that the Bat Guy was the new Optimus, while the Gator Dude was the new Megatron. Real deal or not, these toys were cool. They had articulation like I'd never seen, thanks to their ball joints. They quickly transformed from one form to another with the use of a spring-loaded lever, and the intricate molded details like scales and fur were so different from the generally flat, smooth surfaces that adorned classic Transformers toys. Sometime after I got these little plastic marvels, I finally bore witness to the much-cherished Beast Wars cartoon. And oh my god, I had never seen anything like it before. You had heroic Maximals and evil Predacons replacing the Autobots and Decepticons of yesteryear. The visuals were so different from the hand-drawn animation that was all 90s kids knew so far. The CGI is obviously very dated by today's standards, but it was groundbreaking in the year 1996. In fact, the Beast Wars cartoon was the second 30-minute cartoon to use full computer-generated imagery, coming after Reboot, which was made by the same studio that made Beast Wars, Mainframe Entertainment. Plus, CGI got a lot better by the series' end. Beyond the visuals, I knew this series was something special. It was significantly more character-driven than the original Transformers cartoon, which I had personally experienced through the Generation 2 reruns. The characters in the show had such personality and depth that you couldn't help but come to care about them, even the bad guys. The show didn't need massive character ensembles to fill each episode. The cast was intentionally small, allowing the writers to spend more time developing each character. This led to some amazing character-centric episodes, most infamously the episode Code of Hero. Now, I won't spoil it right now for those of you that haven't seen it, but if you haven't seen it, please go watch it. It's a prime example of how to make your characters drive the show. Over the next few years after discovering the show, I only obtained 2 new Beast Wars toys. I got Snarl the Tasmanian Devil, and then I got Optimal Optimus. And this toy was so cool. It had 4 distinct modes, it was big, it was Optimus. He remained one of my most prized possessions for some time. Over time, I managed to lose almost all of my Transformers toys, but Optimal Optimus stayed with me. Fast forward a bit to the year 2000, and all I had left was my Optimus. One day that year, after receiving some birthday money, I had the sudden, unexplainable impulse to go to the nearest store and buy myself some Transformers. Don't know why. I just really wanted to buy some Transformers toys. That day was the very start of my Transformers collecting, with my Optimal Optimus being the very first member of my collection. Sorry, that was a bit of a tangent. Back on track. The Beast Wars cartoon had a very exciting conclusion at the end of its 3rd season, which saw the Maximals finally defeat Megatron and the Predacons. This ending led directly into a sequel cartoon called Beast Machines, which had its own dedicated toy line. Beast Machines was the final cartoon in the original Transformers timeline, but it was followed up by a toy line and comic called Transformers Universe before the US Generation 1 continuity finally came to a close. In Japan, the Universe series was ignored and replaced with the series Beast Wars II and Beast Wars Neo. I plan to cover each of these other series in depth in later videos. Once the Beast era came to a close, Hasbro started doing something it had never done before. It began rebooting the Transformers franchise. Again, and again, and again, and again, and again, and again. That meant that the Beast Wars characters as we knew them were over. Finished. Well, kind of. They proved so popular with fans that they would be referenced in other series and continuities throughout the years. This was most prominently seen in the Unicron trilogy, Transformers Animated, and the IDW Generation 1 comics. These acknowledgments of the series were a gift, but they did little to fill the gaping hole in our hearts that Beast Wars had left when it ended. Luckily, Hasbro and Takara have thrown some bones to the Beast Wars fans over the years. In 2004, the Takara exclusive Robot Masters line contained some chronally displaced Beast Wars characters. In 2006, Hasbro celebrated the series' 10th anniversary with a limited toy line, mostly consisting of redecos of popular characters' toys. These characters came with cool extras like a Transmutate Build-A-Figure and even small replicas of the Axelon and Darkseid, the ships of the Maximals and Predacons respectively. The 2006 Botcon convention also played up the 10th anniversary, with figures of the original Beast Wars cast from Season 1 in their pre-Beast Mode bodies. Fun fact, this was actually going to be the first Botcon I ever went to. I'd saved up for it and everything. But having to pay for sudden car repairs at the last minute nixed those plans. And I don't regret that at all. Nope. Not at all. Fun Publications, the license holder for Botcon, continued to release some Beast Wars themed toys through their Transformers Collectors Club, mostly as part of their Beast Wars Uprising series. The 2008 Universe line, which is not the same as the one I mentioned earlier, and the Japanese Henkai line made new figures of Cheetor and Dinobot. More recently, the Generations toy line has created some fantastic new figures for Rat Trap, Rhinox, and Waspinator, while Takara's Legends line recreated Black Arachnia and even Bat Optimus and Gator Megatron. In 2016, Hasbro largely ignored the 20th anniversary of Beast Wars, but luckily Botcon and Takara were on top of it. The 2016 Botcon set was again centered around a pre-cartoon Beast Wars story, this time utilizing the recent Combiner Wars system to bring us some very cool Beast Wars era combiners. There are also plenty of great non-combiner toys available at the convention. Another fun fact, this was actually the only Botcon I ever made it to, a full 10 years after my first attempt. As much as I love the toys that we got at Botcon 2016, some recent concepts for figures that were created during the convention's early planning have been released to the public, and they really have me pining for what possibly could have been. I mean, look at these things. They're gorgeous. On Takara's end that year, they introduced the first Beast Wars Masterpiece figures, Optimus Primal and Cheetor. Optimus even got a toy-accurate Legendary Leader version a little bit later. Even more recently, Takara's revealed a Masterpiece Dinobot, and now, Shadow Panther. Finally, Hasbro's new Power of the Primes toy line is set to release a new version of Optimus Primal that combines elements from his Gorilla, Transmetal, and Optimal Optimus forms. So now this brings us up to speed to today. Beast Wars still hasn't made a major comeback in fiction. IDW's comics have used some Beast Wars characters in their fictional universe, but they exist in a largely G1-centric story. Recent events involving the Lord of Beasts, Onyx Prime, have spawned small cameos from other Beast-era characters, but only time will tell whether this will lead to some new Beast Wars-based plot lines. Well, this concludes my first discussion video. I hope you all found it interesting and informative. I look forward to hearing your opinions in the comments on the video and on the Beast Wars series as a whole. If there proves to be an audience for this sort of thing, I will happily create more, because if there's one thing I enjoy doing, it's talking people's ears off about Transformers. With that, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.